2nd, it must be time for another legislative update from your North Carolina Medical Society. It's been a full week of meetings, even though we are back into the interim time. There are a lot of interim committee meetings that are going on. On Wednesday, we had joint legislative oversight committees for both Health and Human Services and Medicaid. A lot of discussion there around Medicaid transformation. And the Secretary was talking extensively and receiving questions extensively from the legislators about when this is all going to happen. Now remember that the only firm deadline in legislation is that July 2019 deadline to get started. And it was implied, or at least talked around about by the Secretary, that that might get pushed back. She said that it was their target to still launch in July 2019, but that their target time for extending an RFP for bids to come in from these new prepaid health plans was being delayed. We still don't have waiver approval, so there's a lot that is still going to be, there's still yet to be finalized on exactly what our timeline is, exactly when we're going to see these big changes in Medicaid. We're back on March the 13th, so just 12 days from now, or 11 days from now, we're right back to another Joint Legislative Oversight Committee meeting, and I'm sure that these questions will come up as well. There were also some subcommittee meetings this week. One was specifically around behavioral health and the challenges that are going on in our behavioral health system with access to psychiatrists especially, and of course the scope conversations that we're all used to with nurse practitioners and others providing relief where physicians are short in numbers was a part of that discussion. And then on Thursday we had a long conversation in the GME committee about rural access. How are we recruiting and training doctors to come to North Carolina and stay in rural areas? And so that is an ongoing conversation. And the committee actually recommended that they could not find absolute recommendations to do in the short period of time that they have met so far, and that they should just continue to study that. So we'll hear more about that down the road as well. This week was also a big week because it was the end of the filing period that we've talked about. And so far we've seen like 473 candidates apply to run for 170 legislative seats, 120 in the House and 50 in the Senate. So the most contested races we've seen in as long as anybody can remember. So this is going to be a really important time for you to start now in getting to know who those people are that are running either for the May primaries or the November general elections. So we're going to put a new tool together that puts a step-by-step on our legislative blog so that you can follow through and figure out which House and Senate districts you live in, and then give you a sheet to then compare and find out who those people are that are running in those districts. And that way you've got names that you can start to Google and look for in your mailers or look for in your mailboxes to figure out who those folks are that are running. It's important that you do this because, like we said in advocacy, the very first thing, the most important thing that you have to do is vote. So make sure that you're registered to vote, make sure that your friends are registered to vote, that your peers and your employees are registered to vote, and then let's do this education so that we're ready to go both in May and November. On top of that, we mentioned last week, and we'll mention it again now and probably until the cows come home, we need your PAC contribution. Now is the time that we need to make sure that those contributions are coming in so that we're ready to support candidates that are going to support you in the upcoming sessions and after the upcoming elections. So be sure to go to our website if you haven't done this recently and fill out an electronic contribution form. We thank you in advance for that and look forward to bringing you more information down the road about future committee meetings and the elections as we get closer in May to the primaries. Have a great one. Bye.